Hello everybody and welcome to the Reaper project breakdown of my arrangement of I Heard You Singing, originally written by Jacob Collier and Becca Stevens, I believe. Yeah, I've been wanting to do this for pretty much even before I even finished making the track. I've been wanting to make a breakdown of it because there's just a lot going on, as you'll see. This idea is obviously directly stolen from Jacob Collier's Logic session breakdowns, except this is, Reaper project rather than a Logic session. So, also you might hear I have a little bit of a sniffle. I am currently recovering from being sick, so sorry about that. But yeah, I really want to do this, and recently I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. I don't really care if anybody watches it. I just want to do it, even if it's just for me. So here we are. If you are watching this, thank you. I appreciate that. You're gonna learn a lot if you watch all the way through. Hopefully, I'd be kind of odd if you knew everything already. So let's jump over into Reaper. So this is what the project looks like when it's all condensed. This isn't even all of it. I have to scroll down in order to see everything. That's everything, and that's kind of a lot. I gotta be honest, this is definitely the biggest project I've ever made, by far. Because if I open it up and then scroll all the way down to the bottom, look at all those tracks. There's actually 729, I believe that says. 729 tracks, which just kind of blows me away. Obviously, you can see there's a lot of empty space, so it's not like all 700 are being used all at once, and most of them are actually vocal tracks, because when I would do stacks like this, you can see that, like, this only exists right here, and there's nothing else before or after it. So that's kind of how I do these things, is when I have a new idea for a vocal stack, I make a new folder, and then I separate everything out. So, like, this is one line, that's another line, this is another line. And it just makes it easier for mixing, because I don't always have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 things per line. Sometimes I only do 2 or whatnot. So that's why there's 700s, just pretty much for organizational purposes, and to make it a little bit easier to mix, because then I don't have to like automate the volume change between this one and that one. If I had them on the same folder, I can just adjust the volume of this individual thing by just moving that little knob. So you might say that I don't need 729 tracks, and I would agree, but that's just kind of how it worked out. I wasn't trying to make as many tracks as possible. This is just kind of what happened. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and start. Let's dive in and listen and see what's going on in here. So, yeah, right away, we have something very quiet over here. Wait, where is it? Actually, it's not in the noises. It's in, it's right here. I count in saying 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to have to boost this by a lot for you to actually hear. Let's see, negative 34. 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can tell I just kind of like whispered 2, 3, 4, 5, just to kind of clue you in that this is in 5/4 rather than 4/4. Very subtle. You kind of have to be listening pretty loudly in order to actually hear that, but that comes in just before the guitar part starts in. Yeah, so I have, this primarily starts with guitar, with this kind of 5/4 pattern stolen directly from the original. Another thing you might have noticed is that it starts with a lot of reverb. I don't know where the reverb's at, but probably that one. It starts with a lot of reverb, and then the reverb kind of comes away, or goes away as the track progresses. Starts with a lot, and then it kind of slowly fades out. It also, if you look at the panning of it, I guess you can see it there. It starts on the left, and you can hear that as well. It starts, I don't know what's going on there, but it starts on the left, and then it kind of moves to, what is that, 15 left? Starts at 100% left, and then it moves to 15 left. And then as the other guitar joins in, they're at the same, they're like at like equal and opposite. I think. I guess that's not the... Oh, wait, no, it's right here. Yeah, so it starts at 55, which is, I believe, where this one is at when it reaches that point. Yeah, about 55. So then they move into 15 left and 15 right once you get to this point. But that's not the only thing that's going on at the beginning. There's also some voices that start in right away. And they're pretty quiet initially. They sound like this. That's very quiet. I'm going to turn that up. Let's see, -10. So obviously I EQ'd out a lot of the high end out of those just to kind of keep them in the background. I also separate, I don't even remember how to do this. I haven't done this in so long, but I actually cut the end and then added effects to this audio clip rather than automating up reverb on the track itself, which is what I do now. I don't even remember how to do this, but like that's what I did at the time, because I didn't want reverb on this part, but I wanted it to end with reverb on the last chord. So it just goes and just kind of slowly fades out. So we can turn that back down. Oh, it's about there. So that's going on, and then I believe we've got some other vocals. Yeah, so after that we have these vocals come in, which sound like this. There's not a whole lot of anything to that. They're just kind of moving around randomly at different times to kind of get this kind of, what's that, polyphonic effect. I don't really know what I was going for. It's been like literal years since I recorded most of this stuff. So, I mean, it's been like probably a year since I even released the track. So, and I was working on this for almost a year, I think, before I released it. So it's been a while since I recorded this. I actually, most of this stuff wasn't even recorded on this mic. It was recorded on a blue Snowball Ice. I don't even know if I have that in my room anymore, but it's like a USB mic. I couldn't adjust the gain, and it would, like, when I would record, the audio would appear after where it was supposed to be. So every single time I recorded something with that mic, I would have to adjust it, move it back where it's supposed to be after recording, which was incredibly annoying. I don't know how I survived making, recording this many tracks with that, having to move it back every time I recorded anything. But yeah, and once I got this mic, I recorded some other vocals on this track, I remember. So not all of it was done that way, but a good chunk of it was. So while those voices are going on, oh, we also have this. This is pretty subtle. But it's kind of mirroring what the guitars are doing at that point. So let's see, -16 sounds like this. So they also kind of echo each other. It's almost like a delay effect, but manually done. So we have, and this follows. So it's the same thing, but just like set back. And I think I like actually I didn't just copy and paste. I think I actually recorded it separately. But that's what the guitars do, is like one of them starts and then the other follows like a beat later. So it's like left, right, left, right. And that was that's why that's kind of why this whole thing came to be. The idea for this came while I was washing dishes at a fast food place that I worked at. I was just like washing dishes, and I was singing this song in my head, and then I just suddenly heard it as a round. So it's like, I heard you singing, I heard you singing. And obviously the other part continues as the second part comes in. That's where this idea came from. And so I decided to do that with the guitars as well, to kind of allude to that. And that comes later in the melody, vocal melody. But we've also got some other guitars going on. Did I turn down the voices? I don't know if I did. Yeah, I think this is supposed to be at -16. Somewhere around there. Doesn't really matter because I've already released it. But we've also got some other guitars going on. That sound like this. So I think what those are doing is like just moving on the scale in one direction or the other. Oh, and then going back down. Okay, so it's kind of making like a pyramid shape. One is moving down, the other is moving up. And they sometimes cut out because they would match pitch with another one of these tracks, and I didn't like the way that sounded, so I'd cut it out whenever it matched pitched with another one. But they just kind of make these fun chords every once in a while. And I've also got a bit of a secret, and that is the Jesse lick. I snuck the Jesse lick in right here. So that's right here. Yeah. Because this is technically a Jesse song. It's on Jesse Volume 2, so I decided I'd sneak that in. And then after that, we've got this. Whoops, not that. This part. Starts with just 4 voices, and then, 8 more join in, and then 8 more join in, and then 8 more join in, so it just kind of fills out as it goes along. And I don't really know what the harmonies are doing, but I'm sure you can figure them out if you really want to know what they're doing. I know it ends on some sort of diminished chord. Just kind of add some tension and release as it goes into the next section. Oh, also, what key are we in? I think we're in... That's kind of an annoying sound. There we go. What key are we in? Da, da. So I think it's B half flat. I think we're in B half flat right now, or somewhere around there. Just because I love microtonal keys and messing around with them. And that comes in soon. That becomes very important soon. So yeah, I've also got some other stuff to make that tension and release. One of them is this, like, breath. That happens right at the spot. Kind of subtle. The other thing is this. So there's this free, I think it's still free. It was free when I got it. It's a vinyl plugin from Isotope, I believe. And it has this like spin down effect. So I didn't actually apply this. Typically you'd apply this to a track or to like the master or whatever to make it sound lo-fi. All I wanted was the mechanical sounds and then the spin down sound. So if I solo this out, I don't know if you can hear that. I'm going to turn it up a bit. Let's see, it's at 0. So it sounds like this. So it spins down at that point. And that was just kind of add to the tension and release. I think I also automated some EQ stuff to make it a little bit less noticeable. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, that's also in there. What else have we got? Okay, I guess we're now into verse 1, which doesn't have any rounds. Doesn't have any rounds to it, but got the main vocal here. It literally just has an EQ and a limiter. At the time, I was super into only using free plugins, so I like looked up best free limiters and I found that one, and it's alright, but now I have better limiters that I paid for. So that limiter is actually on a lot of different tracks. So what else do we have going on in verse 1? Let's see. I know we have some vocal stuff going on. Yeah, so like this. There's simple little lines. Little things like this. Right here. You might also hear some guitars at that point, and that's because there are some. Where are those at? Yeah, right here. We've got a little... It's kind of fun. Also got... What else? Oh yeah. This is kind of an interesting one, because I think one of these is doing that microtonal voice leading thing that Jacob Collier likes to do. Is it this one? No, that's normal. It must be this one. Yeah, so that's going from, what would that be? Like F, oh goodness, maybe G and a G flat and a half to G half flat. But there's a note in the middle there, so it's not just chromatic, it's like quarter tone chromaticism. That kind of creates this interesting harmonic motion. Oh yeah, another thing that I was really proud of when I did it was this footstep sound that you hear. Quite subtle. It sounds like this. So I recorded that myself in the woods that are like right next to my house. I think with my phone or something. But well, first, it's kind of fun that it like moves from left to right. It actually sounds like somebody's like walking through your head. Starts on the right, moves to the left. But the other fun thing about it is that it's in a like 4 to 5 polyrhythm with the beat. So if I turn on the metronome, actually I'll just solo this out. Yeah, so every 5 beats, there's 4 footsteps. I can't even do that with my hands. But it's fun. I was really proud of that. It's really subtle. I bet nobody noticed it, but it's there. There's a lot of things where it's like when you bury something so deep, no one's gonna notice it until you point it out. But that's what makes it so much fun. So that's there. I'm going to turn the metronome off now. Oh yeah, another thing I haven't pointed out yet is the frogs in the swamp. This is also something that I recorded just in my backyard. But it's just this kind of ambient sound of frogs in the swamp. But this actually has a lot of action in terms of volume. So as you can see, it starts, you know, at a decent volume, it disappears for this section, and then comes back in, and then it gets louder during this section. And then it goes back, and then it drops all the way down, gets louder, and then drops down, and then gets louder, and then, yeah, so that's not just staying consistent throughout it, it has some action to it. What's next? I guess we can talk about the cross terrain modulation next. That's what I was talking about earlier with the key and why the key is so important. Yeah, so I guess we can talk about the voices for it first, which I believe is right here. Yeah, so we start with this little and then we go into the modulation. So, yeah, so that's shifting us from B half flat to D flat, I believe, is where we end up. Let's see. Yep, so we go to D flat from B half flat, but you don't really notice it. Unless you have perfect pitch, you probably don't notice the shift from microtonal key to a 440 key. So we're in B half flat, and then these 4 chords. And now we're in D flat. So what happened there was a cross terrain modulation. That's a term that Jacob Collier coined. I made a whole video on his cross terrain modulation in the Bleak Midwinter, which was the first one that he did. And in that video, I also have a tutorial on how to make your own. But essentially, it just uses really, really precise tuning math to modulate microtonally. So like your 12th major third compared to a justly tuned major third is a 14-cent difference. So if you use a justly tuned major third, then you use the third scale degree of that chord as the root of your next chord, then your next chord can be 14 cents flat and nobody's going to notice. So you essentially just do stuff like that with different intervals, and then you can modulate microtonally with nobody noticing. And you might ask, if nobody's going to notice, what's the point of doing it? It's just fun, I think. It's really fun for me to do things, to slip things in that are there, but nobody's going to notice them. Unless you have perfect pitch, then you're probably going to notice that. But we also have guitar going on during this. And you might think, what's going on here? Let me explain. Well, I initially had recorded each of the chords. So I had this as one recording, then this as another recording, then this is another, and then this is another. But my guitar playing at the time was really bad, and it hasn't gotten a whole lot better. But when I recorded it, it just sounded like very like dut, 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 dut. None of the notes were ringing out. So I eventually decided to just individually tune and record each note so that the notes would actually ring out the way I wanted them to. So that was kind of fun. Yeah, so that's the cross terrain modulation. And that brings us into the next section. Oh yeah, there's some fun interjection stuff going on here. So if I solo out these and then go down here and solo out these, you hear this. So it starts with the voice with 2 notes, and then on the voice's last 2 notes, the guitar or banjo or whatever I was using joins in, and then the plucked instrument continues for 2 notes. I think it's a guitar with just a lot of reverb on it. So that was kind of fun. Starts with the voice, continues with the guitar. Yeah, that's guitar. Whoops, I guess I gotta unsolo this too. Oh yeah, this is pretty fun too. These are also individually recorded notes, as you can see. So I just like do like this. There's so much room noise, it's crazy. So I just recorded each individual note. Well, each line, I guess. So that's kind of the basis of this section. And then here's where the round actually starts. So you start with one voice. I saw you making angels, and then the other one joins in, you know, off by a measure. And obviously panned left and right. And the second voice, to differentiate it from the first, is actually 2 separate octaves. That one has all of the highs EQ'd out. I saw you just to give it a little bit extra difference from the initial voice. I saw you making angels, and as you can hear in there, there's also some chords going on. Yeah, they start over here actually. I really like these chords. They sound so nice. I believe these are just octaves. Yeah. And then these are the ones that actually move. Oh, that one just stays still too. Okay. This is literally just that one that moves. And then back here, this. Like these like split off from each other or something. Yeah, right there. Excuse me. So those are kind of fun. What else have we got going on? Ah, yes, that's important. So we got some other interjections going on here. And the guitar. That's the important one, because that is my personal motif. 3-5-1-2. I don't know how I came up with that. It doesn't have anything to do with my name or whatever, like box motif. Or who's the other guy? Shostakovich, I think, also has it to do with his name. But yeah, I really like that combination of notes, 3-5-1-2. And so I try to put that into every single thing that I make. I don't always remember to, but I try to sneak it in. Even when I'm producing somebody else's something, I try to sneak it in, just as like a producer tag. Yeah, I got it into this one. It's really, really quiet. You can probably barely hear it when... It's there, but it's barely there. So, yeah. So there's some other interjections going on. Oh, yeah. This is also something I should talk about. There's some noises that are in the finished track that you aren't hearing here because my hard drive failed, and that was the hard drive that had some of the files that this project was drawing from. Thankfully, I had backed up this project on Google Drive so I could re-download it to do this, but there's, I think, 4 files that were on that drive that this project can't grab, and that was, it's called Andy's snare because there's a guy in Discord named Andy, and he sampled his snare drum, and so I grabbed it. I think I threw a bunch of like reverb or something on it, but that's no longer here. I don't even remember what that sounded like. Yeah, I don't even know what that was doing, but it was obviously really subtle because I don't like remember. There's also Andrew Henry's Meadow. Is my favorite childhood book, and I grabbed it and I flipped through the pages and recorded that. And so in the final track, you can hear a sound of flipping through pages right there. Another huge thing that's missing right here, well, not huge, but another thing that's missing is bird sounds. I recorded some bird sounds in my backyard, and those are supposed to be right here. It's supposed to be like tweet, 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 tweet. But it's not there because that's on the drive that failed. File is technically still on there. At least that's what they told me. It just, I didn't have the money to actually repair it. So yeah, that's kind of sad. There's supposed to be bird sounds right there. What else have we got? Okay, these are some interesting chords from the voices. And interesting bit about this, when I was recording this, I got to this point. And I didn't know what to do next. I was like, maybe it's done. Maybe I just release it like this. And then I went back and listened to the original. I'm like, no, I gotta continue. So I continued. So that's why it kind of sounds like it. There's like a very definite like cadence here. And then there's a new section that kind of slips in. But that's what this is all about. This is to transition us from the very definite end of the previous section into a new section. And that's one of my favorite like cadence sounds, is a minor 4 with the added I guess it's the added 6 of the 4 chord, but it's the second scale degree in the key. So like if you're in C major, it would be like C, D, F, and then A flat to a C chord. I typically keep that second scale degree in there, so it's like a C add 2. But it's one of my favorite like cadence sounds, or like ways to transition to a new spot, and so I use that here. What else do we have going on in this next section? There's kind of a transition sound here. What is that? Is that this? Yeah, so I think that's this first hit with the shakers, or shake with the shakers, I guess. Reversed, and then added reverb, and then print that, or render it, and then reverse it again. So it's kind of like it's a reverse reverb effect. That leads right into the shakers. Oh yeah, the shakers are really interesting because I started with just this, right? Sounds like that. It's probably really quiet, but here, I can just turn up the shakers for now. So that's what, every 8th note or something? And then I added every other of those. And then 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 every other of those. Right there. And then every other of those. And it starts at like the beginning of the section. Every other of that. It doesn't happen until way over here. I'm not going to make you listen through all that. And then every other of those is just one more, because the section doesn't last long enough for there to be another. But I just put an extra one at the beginning to continue the trend. Well, I got to go back through all of that so I can get the shakers back where they were mix-wise. Okay, there we go. So that's happening, and that is represented in the video. If you go watch the video, I'll link it in the description of this one. You can actually see each of those shaker shakes. I put each of them in the video. So that's going on. The guitar has the melody here. Is it, I think it's this one? Yeah. I don't know why I made that choice, but I did. Yeah, and then the concert uke. I have a concert uke. It's the one doing that 5/4 pattern. What is this? Oh yeah, I have a lower octave doing the melody. And then I also have this interesting bass line, which rather than sticking in 5/4, it's more like in 6, so it actually doesn't line up with the beat. So it's like, hold on. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold on, I messed up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. There's lots of weird polymetric, polyrhythmic stuff going on in this section. I guess not a whole lot. That's pretty much the primary one. What else have we got going on? Oh yeah, there's this. What is this? Yeah, I guess that's another, you could call that polyrhythmic or polymetric. I'm not sure what that would classify as, but that's every 2 beats, so that doesn't line up perfectly. That's just going up and down scales and octaves. Yeah, it's pretty boring, but because it doesn't line up, it adds an extra layer of polyrhythmic stuff. There's also just some simple pyramids. And then later on, sounds like this. And that last note just kind of hangs out for a while. Oh yeah, and this little interjection. Interesting little chromatic lines. I think those are chromatic. Oh yeah, and then right at the end, the bass, played by a guitar, breaks free from the 6 and goes back to 5. So it goes 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, so it's splitting the 5 in half. So it's still kind of polyrhythmic, but it at least fits in within 5. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. It also splits from just the 2 notes and goes to a 2/5 at the end to lead us into that next section, where the vocal comes back with the melody. What is this? Oh yeah, that's just the guitar as bass again. So the vocal has the melody again, and now we have 3 iterations of the round. So let's listen to that.
Said all along you wanted to be free. Don't you
So obviously the first iteration is in the middle, and then the second is in the right, and then the third is in the left.
I know you're ready for the light to see.
Very chaotic, very challenging to understand what's actually going on orally. Or not challenging to understand what's going on, but like challenging to like actually parse out the words, for me at least, because I'm terrible with hearing lyrics. But it's just kind of a fun effect, melodically, I think. And I did have to adjust the melody each time I did the round, because it like changes, like the melody like changes tonality halfway through, so you kind of have to mess with it a little bit.
Close your eyes, say goodnight, count to 3.
It kind of goes minor, so I had to adjust what the other things were doing early. Excuse me again. What else is going on in this section? Oh, I hear a hand drum. A djembe. Where's that? It's right here. Super messy. Just kind of random stuff that I was messing around with. You can tell in the video that I didn't actually take the time to learn what I recorded, because I'm just like kind of playing super lightly and not hitting all the beats correctly and whatnot, but I didn't really care at the time, so that's just kind of the rhythm. And I also have some simple shakers, pan left and right. What else do I have going on? I have these vocals. Yes, now the voices are doing that 5/4 pattern the guitars had earlier. So that's kind of fun. Anything else? No, that's about it.
Close your eyes, say goodnight, count to 3, 4.
This section is kind of interesting, because when I initially recorded it, I recorded this first, I believe. I really like these pre-mints. These are pretty fun. But when I mixed those initially, just kind of as a way to listen to it without, like, I didn't have a very like set way that I set process for making things back then. I still don't really, but I would kind of like mix as I went along. So when I recorded this initially, I had turned down the bass note quite a bit. And then later, I came back to it, I think with this mic, and I was adding more voice stuff, more vocals, and I was like, oh, what if I had this really fun, like, but like an octave lower than that. So I was like, what if I added that? So I added that, and then I realized that the bass note had already been hitting that note continuously throughout this entire section, which made it that bass drop not hit as hard, because I like mixed this back up. I was like, oh, that's already hitting that note. So my solution was to automate out the low end of that bass note. I'm so stuffy. As it went through the section. So that by the time you get to the bass drop, you aren't really feeling that bass anymore. So that it can still kind of feel good. So let's see, where's the bass drop? Right here. So that's just like, I don't know, what is that, 10 recordings of the same with lots of bass and no high end. Look at that. That's crazy. There's also some other voice stuff going on. I really like these. I don't know why. They're really simple, but they're kind of fun. So literally all it is just this is like going up a scale. And then every other note? No, every note. You add a third above. Not a third above this note, but a third above the note that's happening. And then you add a third above that, and then a third above that, and then a third above that. And it just ends up sounding like this. So you get those like major 9 chords, minor 9 chords. It's kind of fun. What else? Oh yeah, at the end there's this little pyramid. Obviously lots of reverb at the end of that. Oh, that's another interesting thing I did with this. I had some very interesting production techniques when I made this. Not because they're smart, but because I had no idea what I was doing. There's also some guitars going on. I guess part of that is this thing, where it's like 2 guitars alternating that line. And then some other interjection stuff. Just kind of playing random stuff. What is this? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So that's like playing the note on the guitar and then pressing down halfway across the string so you get that first harmonic. Really subtle. Probably can't even hear it. No, I can't even hear it. That might as well not even be there. I mixed it so low. But yeah, it's technically there. What else have I got? Oh yeah, this section. So I have this voice, lone voice. Singing that line from the next section of the song. And I distinctly remember having this idea of having the like energy of the track be the opposite of the original. So when I listened to the original, what I heard was during this Follow Me, Fall in Love section, it started low and then built up energy as it went along. And so I wanted to do the opposite of that, meaning I wanted to start high and then lower the energy as I went along. So this is just kind of the intro to this section with lots of drenched out reverb. And then it just hits. This is the emotional climax of the song. And so obviously the voices continue that, 6 of them.
Follow me, fall in love. Follow me,
a high octave and a low octave.
my love. Follow me, fall in love.
And so the interesting production technique that I was talking about is the reverb. I didn't understand the point of doing like reverb sends back then, because I'm like, everything that a send could do, I can just accomplish with folders. Not true. I mean, maybe true, but probably not true. At this point, I do use reverb sends, and I do a lot of stuff in parallel because I understand the effect different. how different that can be. But what I did was I put reverb on a track and then put everything else into that. So at the beginning you could see when I had everything condensed, there's just a track called reverb that everything else is inside of. And then I automated the wet of that effect. So you could barely even see it, but like it's at negative infinity for most of it. But then during this section, it jumps up to negative 20. Actually, be easier to see if I just open up the effect itself. So if you watch this thing right here, so I'm gonna skip forward a little bit. It just goes, bow, suddenly at negative 20 during this section, and then at the end it goes down, slowly sinks until eventually negative infinity. And so I would do that so differently now, but like what I wanted was this section to be like just the biggest. So I added reverb to it, and that's the only way that I knew how. Well, I'm not sure that's the only way I knew how, but that's the way I decided to do it. Like I said, I would do that very differently now, but it works. It definitely worked. I would argue. All right, so what's really going on in this section? We've got the voices doing the melody. Follow me, fall in love. We've also got these voices. These ones are kind of interesting. We've got MIDI tracks. These are, I actually wrote out in MIDI what I wanted the voices to do. I don't know why I couldn't just hear it and sing it, but I apparently decided to do that. It initially started with just these. And then I went back in later with this mic when I was adding more vocal stuff in, and I added this part, which is this kind of like triplet feel vocal bass line. And all together. Those vocals sound mega compressed. Oh my goodness, yeah, that's why. I would probably not compress them that much at this point, but I did then. That was like when I first started experimenting with compressors. Like I had no idea what I was doing, and I still don't for the most part, but I think I'm better now. So that's that. What else is going on? We've got, oh yes, okay, lots of percussion in this section. I want it to be lots of driving rhythms. So we got a cajon, two types of cajons actually. One of them, big and small. So we have, this is actually my cousin's cajon that I have in my studio because she doesn't have a spot for it or something. She just kind of lets me keep it. And then I have small cajon. Which is a present from my brother, a Christmas present a couple years ago. I don't think you can see it. Hold on. No, you can't. I wonder if you can see it on the other scene. Yeah, so it's right there. That's a mini cajon. And it works just like a normal cajon, except it's smaller, so it sounds different. Excuse me. So I have both of those going on, playing pretty much the same thing. Lots of reverb from that master track. What else do I have? Oh yeah, hand drum, the djembe, playing pretty much the same thing. And then tambourines. Nice. Shakers. Cool. Oh yes, here's another thing that's hidden. And another file that's missing that's on that drive that I really wish I had. Sorry. So this is, I call this verbal excitement. So right at the point that this section just hits, you hear this. So that's how many tracks is that? 676 to 712. I don't really want to count that, but that's a lot of me just going, hey, and oh, and all that type of stuff. And eventually I would, like, at some points I would get bored, and so I'd start, like, saying actual words. So I actually wrote this one out. Okay. Listen to this. Okay. You can probably barely hear that. Let me turn it up. Okay. It's just, I can't even do that right now because I'm sick, but okay. It's just super high. I do remember that I used, I think, like, oh yeah, I would adjust the rate of the entire project. This is a technique I learned from Jacob Collier. On Logic it's called vary speed, but on Reaper it's just called the rate. So you can adjust the rate of the project so that it runs slower or faster. Here, I'll just show you that. So if I turn the rate down, it sounds like this. If I turn it down even further, it sounds like this. So it not only slows it down, but it moves the pitch down as well, which is a very natural, that's how sound actually works. If you slow it down, it gets lower in pitch. So I recorded some of these at this lower, not this specific, but at a lower rate, some of them at a higher rate to, like, make more variance within the sounds. So if I, like, adjust the rate up, it sounds like that. I don't think I recorded anything at that rate, but I remember doing that for some of these. But there's a couple of things in here where I'm, like, saying words rather than just going, hey.
This is how we do it.
Yeah, so that one I'm saying, this is how we do it. Turn that up a little bit.
This is how we do it.
This is how we do it. Just really cringy stuff like that, but it was fun. And you can barely hear it in the final product. So,
Come on, let's go.
come on, let's go, I said. This is just, and what's missing here is, at some point, at my birthday a few years back, I had a party here, and I brought all my friends down into my room, and I had them record some stuff for me. So I had them record, like, claps, like I had them just, like, clap in time. I had them do snaps, and then I had them do stuff like "hey" and "oh," and so I had that in here, but now it's gone because it's on that drive and I can't access it. But that was mixed in with the ones that I did. But it's very quiet compared to everything else. Like, I can barely hear it. It's there, but you can barely hear it. I'll point it out. Right there. It's barely in there, but it's technically in there. It's just to add a little bit more impact to that moment. What is this? Oh, yeah. So it's the same reverse reverb effect that I used on the other thing. So I just took, like, the first, like, moment of this section, and I reversed it, applied reverb, printed it, or rendered it, or whatever, and then reversed it again, and put it right here. So it kind of builds into that next section.
Follow me, follow me.
You can kind of hear it slipping in. Bow. I'll just make that next section hit even more. What else have we got? That's all that. We've also got electric bass. Just playing the bass line. Yep. That's pretty much everything that's going on in that section.
What you say?
about that, there's a really interesting thing that goes on here with the melody.
What you say, my love? Follow
Da, da, da.
what you say, my love?
Split off there.
What you say, my love?
Same thing with the lowers.
What you say, my love?
I don't know why, but I decided to do that, and I really like how it turned out. The voices continue in the next section, except it's only one rather than all three from each.
My love. Follow me, fall in love.
What else have we got? Electric bass just kind of holds out that note. Oh yeah, we also have a kalimba in this section. Mirroring the melody. Doubling the melody. It's not really mirror. It sounds super low quality for some reason. Maybe it's just the EQ. Oh yeah, that's why. Also, I think I recorded that with the other mics. That's another reason why it sounds lower quality. Nothing against Blue Snowball Ices, by the way. Like, they're great, and it worked really well for me. But I definitely prefer XLR mics to USB mics. So that kalimba's... I can barely hear that kalimba, but that's what I love doing. I love burying things in the mix that you can barely hear until you can't even notice it until it's pointed out to you. These pyramids are still my favorite pyramids I've ever made. Listen to this. Oh, it's just gorgeous. I don't know why, but I love those so much. I also love what I did with the panning. So it like starts left to right, and then right to left, left to right, right to left, and then it alternates quicker, left to right, right to left, left to right, right to left. So that's also kind of fun. But so yeah, I really like those pyramids. Those are pretty cool. We've also got this behemoth of a vocal stack going on, and that is these. So they're separated in half because that's different octaves. Obviously, the lower octave is a lot stronger. But this is another instance where I use that rate technique. So some of these are recorded at different rates to give a little bit more variance in the timbre of each of the voices. I also EQ'd each of them individually with EQs that really aren't that different. I don't know why I EQ'd them differently individually. Oh, I guess some of them do have weird stuff like that going on to make them sound different, but yeah, so that's going on. When I first recorded these, they were competing a lot with those pyramids that I really liked. I was like, I don't want them to compete with the pyramids because I really like those pyramids, but I didn't want to delete all of these tracks that I recorded. I think it's like 60 tracks in total that I recorded. It's crazy. So what I ended up doing is just adding a whole bunch of reverb to it and like putting it in the back. So yeah, dry is only at -9, wet is at -20 for the reverb. So without that, you see it competes a lot more with those pyramids. So adding reverb, bring them down in the mix, helped a lot. So that's going on. What else have we got during this section? The hand drum continues, the djembe from the previous section, still going strong. Frogs in the Swamp still going on throughout the entire track. Yeah, that's it for this section. Oh yeah, and then at the very end, really fun vocal stack. Right here. I really love this vocal stack. There's so many things that I made in this track that I just absolutely love. And this is one of them. I also did the reverse reverb effect for this too. There's a little bit of a lead in. Barely there, but it's there. And I wanna go through this and like build it. So just solo out each one and listen to how it changes. Excuse me, that bass adds so much. But anyway, I really like that vocal stack. I need to do more stuff like this because it's so much fun. I haven't done anything like this scale in so long. Yeah, okay. That leads us into the next section, which sounds like this. Very sudden change. It's like the original. The original does that sudden change too. Yeah, we got a lot going on. One of the things is piano. This is, once again, this is my favorite piano part that I've ever written. It's following that 5/4 pattern, and you might even say that I didn't even write this, right? Like I just stole it from the original, and yeah, kind of, but it's different. I didn't use the exact same chords, and I absolutely adore these chords. Like I could just listen to this soloed on repeat forever. Oh, that's so gorgeous. I think it uses Lab's soft piano. Oh my goodness, that's so gorgeous. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. So yeah. The kalimba's still going. At least during this transitional section. What's this? Oh yeah, the tenor uke takes over that 5/4 pattern for a bit, just for the transition section. What else is here? This. Oh yeah, melody in the guitar, but also in the voices, which is down here. Octaves 3 per. And what else we have? Oh, the bird sounds are supposed to be here. Oh, we also have more breath. Yeah, so we have breath at the beginning, which I showed you, and then right here. Have I missed any other sounds? No? Okay, good. So yeah, we got the return of the breath. That's, I can, barely there, barely there. I can hear it, but it's so buried. That's crazy. I love doing that. Yeah, so that's the transitional section, and then we get into the final verse.
All of your love is
Which, so, okay, so at the beginning, the first verse is just single, right? there's no rounds. Second verse is 2, so it starts with 1, and then there's another round of it. Third verse is 3, so there's 2 rounds after the original. Fourth verse is a 4-part round, but only 2 of them are with voices. I'll show you what I mean. So we start with this.
All of your love is rocking me to sleep.
So that's octaves, voices. And then the next iteration is either guitar or piano. I believe it's piano. Yeah, it's right here.
All of your love is...
Which was done with room piano V3. And then the third iteration was done with guitar. And then the fourth iteration was done with voices again. Whoops, not that. This.
All of your love is rocking me to sleep.
So by the time we get this one in, here, I'm just going to solo out all of the rounds. So we have that. We have the piano. We have the guitar. So it all sounds like this.
All of your love is rocking me to sleep. Endlessly cradle your love is I'll catch you when you fall into sleep. Follow me, count you.
Yeah. So obviously the first voice is 100% right. Then the second iteration with the piano is 33 left. Then the third iteration with the guitar is 33 right. And then the fourth iteration is 100% left. So it kind of goes like right, mostly, or somewhat left, somewhat right, and then all the way left. And they kind of slip into that rather than just starting there. Like obviously the voices are the most obvious because they're the hardest pan. It starts in the middle and then slowly moves off to the right. And then the final voice starts in the middle, moves off to the left. So, yeah, that was fun. 4-part round, but intelligible because only 2 of them have lyrics, right? The other 2 are instruments. What else do I have going on? Bass. Oh, yeah. Very subtle. But I'm singing a bass line with my voice.
All of your love is rocking.
And it doubles. The piano part. Or at least the bass line of the piano part. So they're very, very subtle. What else do I have going on here? Oh yeah, we have the guitar. Return to the guitar with the 5/4 pattern. And the voices. What is this? Oh yes, okay. So that's more at the end. What else is going on more at the beginning of the section? Oh yeah, the hand drums, the djembe. They do starts with just 1, but then more join in as it goes along. Every 2 measures, I guess. There's a second one. Excuse me. The third one. Oh yeah, and then also the reverb slowly slips in. Which kind of gets more and more intense as it goes along. They also are panned farther left and right as they get added in. So that's pretty cool. And then, excuse me. Got these. So these are right at this point. You really only hear the third word. You can't even hear what it's saying. What they're doing is they're like a delay of the other voices singing the melody just after, like a beat after. The original does this too, but like the way that I did it is the one that's on the right is singing the words that are being sung on the right by the main vocal. So this one. So this says you and me on the right side, and then also on the right side you hear this. After. And then this one.
Count to three.
This is count to 3 at the same time on the left side. And then this one, delay. Obviously not an actual delay, but like it happens afterward. It's kind of an echo. And they do that for every single one. And then one voice from each stays at the end. For a little bit. Yeah. And then, oh yeah, there's an electric bass that comes in at the end. As well as a guitar playing bass line. Huh. Electric bass. Tempo slows down from 90 to 80. That's another thing I haven't mentioned. There's a lot of, like, well, not a lot. There's some tempo changes throughout. And the kind of fun thing about this is it's playing the same pattern that you heard at the beginning. Obviously in a different key, but it kind of slowly gets drenched in reverb and then moves off to the right, which is the exact opposite of what was happening in the beginning, where it started drenched in reverb, then slowly the reverb went away and came in from the left. So if you listen to this on repeat, let me just solo out all the guitars. It plays that pattern, slowly gets drenched in reverb, slowly moves off to the left, or the right, sorry. Right at the very end, it goes off to the right. Yeah, slowly fades out. And then when it repeats. Where's it repeat? Oh yeah, right here. The guitar comes in from the left, drenched in reverb, but then the reverb slowly goes away. So it's kind of a cool mirroring of what happens at the end with the beginning. Sounds fun. But obviously this part's much slower because it slows down continuously. Also at the end was supposed to be more bird noises, but obviously that file is not there. They kind of go doo 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 doo. Not quite that dramatically, but they slow down, as you can see with that automation. Slow down, pitch lowers as it continues. And then the frogs in the swamp slowly fades out. I think that's pretty much it. Let's see, what are we at for time? An hour and 20? That's not too bad. Yeah, so that's I think we touched on every single track in this session or project. This is not Logic, this is Reaper. Yeah, so I can't think of anything else to say about this. Let me know. Well, I guess one thing I should talk about, the mastering. So at this time, I had no idea how to master anything. I didn't have any mastering software, or plugins or anything. So what I did was I did the mastering on the master track itself. So you can see there's actual plugins on the master track. The first is an EQ. That's, giving gentle boost in the high, gentle cut in the low mids and lows. Well, low mids, and then a little boost in the low. And then, I don't know why I closed that. I also have Loud Max, that free limiter. And then Yulin loudness meter, which I had at the time, obviously, but I didn't know how to read it. I didn't know what numbers I wanted from it, so it didn't really help me out. But yeah, at this point, I have Ozone Advanced, and I also render the pre-mastered version, and then I master that single audio file in a separate project, just because it's easier that way. And I actually know what I want from the Yulin loudness meter. Excuse me. So, yeah, I think I ran this earlier, and it was at like -25 integrated LUFS, and the true peak max wasn't accurate because of what I did with the automation. But yeah, it's very different. At this point, I would master it obviously with Ozone Advanced. I would do a lot more with mastering, and at this point, when I master something, I shoot for that streaming standard of -14 LUFS, and then I usually go for -1.1 true peak max. And then if that sounds good, then I just leave it be. If it doesn't, then I adjust it. But yeah, this is crazy at -25 LUFS. Like that's I'm tempted to remaster this, but it's also only been out for like a year, so it's like, what's the point? Yeah, anyway, so the other thing I wanted to talk about with the master is the fact that I automated the output of the LoudMax plugin. So let's look at this. So this is the automation up here, and it starts at -14 and then goes up to, well, I'll play a little bit from each section. So all this is at -14. Then through this section, the CTM, the Cross Terrian Modulation, shifts up. So now it's at -14. It was at, wait, -14.5. Now it's at -14. Then right here, now it's at -13.5. And then through this section, it goes up to -13. And then right here with the climax, it jumps up to -12.5 and then slowly goes down to 13.5 and then down to -14 and then slowly raises up from there to -13.5. So there's a lot of motion in the output of that limiter. Just because I wanted dynamics, and rather than just achieving that through mixing and then having the limiter just like cut off the tops, I actually automated the output of my limiter, which is something I had never done to that point, and I haven't done since. And it's just kind of an odd choice. I've never heard of anyone else doing that. I just really wanted that, so I did it. And honestly, I kind of like it, because there's a lot of times where I'm listening to something. Hold on, I'm going to change camera views. There's a lot of times where I'm listening to something in my car, and it gets to the emotional climax of the song, and I turn it up a little bit because I want more volume for that portion of the song. So that's pretty much why. It's because like I knew that I would do that anyway. So why not just bake it into the audio file itself, so that when that section hits, it gets a little bit louder, almost unnoticeably, but it's there. That's kind of the mantra of this entire project, is like it's subtle. It's very subtle, but it's there. There's a lot of things that are like that in this project, but yeah, this is fun. Not only like the making of the thing itself, but this breakdown. Excuse me. I really shouldn't have done this while sick. It's probably very annoying to whoever's listening, but if you made it this far, thank you. This is an hour and 26 minutes in. That's crazy. I'm surprised you made it this far. Yeah, if you enjoyed, leave a like. If you have any questions about it, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. You can also subscribe to this channel. I'm gonna throw this on my second channel, the Nadroj Noslo. I might do more stuff like this. I like project breakdowns, so I might do more of these for other projects that I've released. Yeah, I guess that's it. I will see you in the next one.